Do you understand the course of fire?
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today marks 1 week since the closing ceremony of the International Precision Rifle Federation World Championships 2024, which were held at Cameo Shooting and Education Center in Colorado, the USA. An amazing tournament, a very proud moment for me being able to compete for Team GB. In what was one of the most challenging matches I've ever shot, but in some amazing surroundings in the high desert of the Mesa County near Grand Junction, shooting alongside some of the best competitors in the world. It was a real experience for me and a real education. Obviously, I'm back now in the UK. It's been a little while since I've spoken to the camera about some of my shooting adventures and some of the gear and kit that I'm using. And I thought, hot on the heels of the World Championships, what better place to start by talking about some of the gear that I used at the match. First of all, just like to say a massive thank you to Team Great Britain for a great campaign. It was great travelling with the rest of the team, staying in the team hotel, sharing those moments together, especially with my son Luca, who was shooting in the junior division. And a big congratulations to the very successful Team USA, who took a clean sweep of all of the team trophies in all divisions. You know, well shot, guys. You were on home soil, but as you've proven in other countries when you've travelled and been on the road, you guys certainly know, guys and gals certainly know how to shoot. Okay, so let's get into it. Travelling to the USA, I had to be very careful with what I was taking with me. You've got to be mindful of weight limits on the aeroplane if you don't want to be paying too much for your baggage. Just making sure that you're taking the key essentials that you're going to need to be at a tournament for a week and a half, and also shooting the match as well. Thought I'd start therefore with just what equipment I was actually carrying separate to the rifle, and then we'll talk a little bit about the rifle setup itself. So starting off, I took two shooting bags with me, two support bags. First one is the Coltac trap bag with a light fill, really versatile waxed bag, which actually these days I use mostly for rear support. It does have attachment straps for attaching to a rifle, to a plate carrier or directly to the rifle, but shooting in factory division, that's something that I'm not able to use. That would be going against the rules. So yeah, really versatile bag, but used primarily as a rear support under the butt of the rifle. The second bag that I took is my heavy glass-filled, again, another waxed bag, but this time from Celtic Precision. Dean at Celtic Precision makes what many consider the best bags on the market, and this one is a very versatile bag for shooting off all sorts of barricades and obstacles, and it, you know, really served the purpose in America for me. It's a heavy thing though, so just be prepared to lug it around with you. On my person, I had this shooter's belt from Kydex Customs UK. Really nice belt, which I've done a review on previously, with Cobra buckles, nicely stitched, lots of laser cut mole attachment points. but I was running it with 2 Kydex magazine holsters, one for my MDT metal magazine with binder plate, which was my primary magazine, and then my Bergara AICS magazine that came with my Premier Elite. That was my backup magazine. Both of these wrapped in goon tape just to ensure a nice tight fit in the magwell of my Bergara B14 HMR, just to make sure that I didn't get any misfeeds or anything when pressing into barricades. But that's a setup that I've used for a long time. That MDT magazine. I was shooting factory ammo while over in the States using Hornady 140 grain ELDMs. And although the factory ammo comes obviously in boxes of 20, I do prefer to take the factory ammo out of those boxes and put it in a cold tack 120 round wallet folder. I just find this is easier to pack in my bag and makes accessing the rounds to load up my magazines just that little bit more convenient and easier when I'm in between stages. For hearing protection, I had my Walker's electronic noise reduction earmuffs. Really good sound reproduction from these, but I don't like to wear them all the time when I'm shooting. So this was more for when I was just talking to other competitors on the stage, or on my days of not shooting, walking around and seeing how the open shooters were doing. I would wear these. That they really helped me to hear what's going on around me. But when I'm shooting competition, I tend to just use in-ear Oritech plugs. These have got a little ceramic valve in them, so you can still hear what's going on around you when people are talking, listen to those RO commands and so on. But just a lot more convenient, getting your ear protection out of the way, so it's not in the way of you shooting when your face is on the rifle. I also carried a couple of cleaning cloths in my kit, just to make sure that I was keeping on top of the lenses on my scope. Didn't want them to get too dusty. Usually these come in very handy for wiping rain and mud off lenses. If you've ever shot in the UK, it's usually in wet and muddy conditions. But over in Colorado, the conditions were extremely dusty. I mean, extremely dusty, really fine dust that got everywhere. And if you weren't keeping on top of your kit, both your action, your bolt, your trigger, making sure they were protected and making sure that your lenses were free of dust, you could very quickly find yourself compromised on stages. Add to that this cold tack, I think it's called a popcorn bag, I believe. Yeah. This was my toolkit. So in here I kept some hex wrenches, kept my Leatherman Mutt multi-tool, kept, again, to go with the cloths to clean my lenses, some lens wipes there, spare batteries, which actually came in very handy when my send it level went down on one stage. The batteries died, and before the next stage I was able to replace those batteries, so I was very glad that I had spare batteries with me. And then my fix-it sticks, which again came in very handy. I never hardly get any problems with equipment when at a match, but for some reason the scope base on my rifle came loose twice during this match, even though it was torqued to spec and I did have some blue Loctite on there. I just wonder if the extremes of temperature between the rifle being in the hold, then into that desert environment, maybe it just loosened up that blue Loctite enough that the base came loose. But I was able to tighten everything down to specification using this kit. And I also, on my day off in between the 2 days of shooting, grabbed myself some red Loctite just to make sure that that base was well and truly tightened down. Also in the toolkit, spare little roll of goon tape, always comes in handy if you need to quickly wrap something together. Luke has got an XLR chassis, and his butt pad came loose at one match. He had a little bit of goon tape and was able just to tighten that up, so that does come in very, very handy. When I'm at the range, I'm always filming my stages and using my phone for checking my ballistics calculator. So I do always make sure that I'm carrying spare cables for charging and a spare battery pack as well. On my bipod, I took a set of spiked feet. I actually forgot my rubber feet, although they're on the rifle now. I took some spiked feet. They were really handy when shooting prone in the sandy ground, because these just help the bipod not to sink in too far. But I probably did miss my rubber feet shooting some of the stages that required us to shoot off car bonnets and hoods. Yeah, could have done with some leather feet, some rubber feet in those circumstances. That's everything that's on the table, other than a few shooting shirts I took from some of the guys in my squad. Really thankful for the time that I spent with those guys, and to come home with some great mementos there. Thank you. But over here you've got my Great Britain top, which I'm again wearing here, and then my shooting pants that I always shoot in are my now discontinued Bergara pants with integrated knee pads, which when you're shooting a field style match do come in very, very handy for making sure that you don't damage your knees on all of the inevitable stones and rocks and twigs and everything that you find in those environments. Okay, so just moving away from the table, this here is my Nylud quick deploy tripod. This is I've been using now for maybe 6 months in competition and in hunting. It's absolutely bomb-proof. Fantastic tripod, something you know that you can rely on. It's got a very easily adjustable ball head, which is locked down with a lever, and then again it's got a lever here just to quickly detach your rifle, or in this case my tack table that I've got sitting on top of the tripod. And this tripod really did serve as the centre of operations for when I was preparing at each stage, whether I was using my Vortex Fury HD 5000 with applied ballistics 10x42 binoculars for identifying targets before shooting a stage, and also for ranging them and then seeing what the wind conditions were downrange and how other shooters were impacting on missing off the targets. These were always sitting on the top of my tripod unless I was moving in between stages, in which case I'd just quickly whip off the whole, set up, put it in my backpack, and then set up again within seconds at the next stage. And then moving across here, got a little quick detach setup here for attaching my phone, which obviously I can't show you that now because I'm filming this video on it, but I would have my phone on here as well, orientated in portrait when I was checking through my ballistics data, and then I could quickly orientate it in the landscape setting if I wanted to quickly film myself from the top of the tripod when shooting a stage. Just hit record a minute before going up to shoot the stage and just let the video roll. Moving down, you can see here a new addition to my range kit, my competition kit, which is a very nice Sharps mountain outdoor gear range workstation, for want of a better word. Again, this quickly attaches and detaches from the tripod, so you can just pack it away in your kit, move to the next stage. But what it does give you is a fantastic workspace here, just to rest the course of fire, read through your notes, prepare your dope cards for the coming stage, which I always keep a good stock of those in here with some Sharpie markers for writing out my dope, which I can then attach to my scope using a cold tack dope holder. So I've always got a quick reference there for a reminder for the course of fire when shooting on a stage, as well as pens and things that I keep in here. Also keep a couple of chamber flags. Always need to keep a chamber flag in when you're shooting a precision rifle competition. And I also keep a little bottle of powder just for squirting into the air and just checking what the wind is doing at the firing point. Although obviously checking wind conditions downrange, I leave to my naked eye and to my binoculars. So fantastic little workstation. Also has my weather flow weather meter in there for connecting with my ballistics app, so I can get a wind reading, density altitude reading. Density altitude came in very, very important at this match. Typically in the UK, density altitude wave is around about 500 metres. Very rarely moves 100 metres either side of that. Quickly discovered when shooting a Cameo in the high desert in Colorado that the density altitude would be around about 1900 very early in the morning. We started shooting at 7:30, but by lunchtime it could be up to 2,500 metres. So very, very good, important to check that, not just when I arrived in Colorado, but obviously throughout the match as well. I've done a separate, more in-depth review of my weather meter and some of the other gear that you're going to see here. So make sure to check out any of my old videos if you want more information about some of the kit that I'm just quickly introducing today. But I will be doing more videos of some of the kit that you see here that I haven't yet introduced. Okay, what I also have on the tripod, which you'll be able to see just underneath here, is my Toolkit tripod caddy, which is just really, really handy if you just want to, throw something on that just as a bit of an extra set of hands, really. Put my ammo folder on there when I'm filling up my magazines. Throw my bag on there if I need to stabilise the tripod in the wind. It's a really versatile tripod. Even just stick a bottle of water on there, so it's easily at hand when I'm shooting a stage. Which again, Colorado, 30-degree heat during the day, blazing sunshine, very dusty. Needed to keep hydrated and drink a lot of water. Okay, so moving on. The rifle itself was a trusty Bergara B14 HMR. Again, I was shooting in factory division, so no fancy chassis for me. I like to think my journeys into factory shooting are very purist, and I don't think you get much more purist than shooting a B14 HMR. Completely stock rifle. I did used to shoot a 24-inch barrel though in the same rifle, but I moved to a 26-inch barrel just to give me the better balance on barricades. I put on the front of the rifle an APA Fat Bastard Gen 3 muzzle brake. It's got 5 ports down each side plus 10 ports on the top just to help with muzzle rise. Really fantastic brake, and just added that little bit of extra weight as well to support with the balance of the rifle. You are allowed in factory division to add a picatinny rail to the front of the rifle using any existing fixed mounting points. So because the B14 has 2 sling swivel stud points, I was able to add a short picatinny rail on the front, which I then used for my Atlas PSR bipod quick detach bipod. Like I say, I used the spike feet for that during the match, but it's got the rubber feet on today. The rail on the rifle is a Bergara 30 MOA rail, and sitting in a Spuhr monomount is my new Schmidt and Bender 6-36 by 56 PM2 high performance scope. And when it says high performance, it really means high performance. I've not looked through a scope with a wider field of view or more clear glass than what this scope has. And I found when we were having our initial sighting session at Cameo the day before competition started, and then collecting our data. This scope tracked perfectly all the way out to every distance that I took it. I checked the zero when we first arrived. That was fine. Went immediately to between 400 500 meters, first round impact on steel. Moved immediately out to 700 meters, first round impact. 918 meters, 1,000 yards, first round impact. Moved to the truing bar. Everything was dialing perfectly. Everything was lining up with my data. What I don't have on the table, I forgot to bring it out, is my Garmin Zero chronograph. I just took a reading off the Garmin, put it in the ballistic solver. Everything lined up, and this dialed perfectly to that data. What I also like, I'm going to do a more in-depth review of the scope, but what I really did appreciate about this scope was the new TR2ID reticle. The reticle is a Christmas tree style reticle in milliradians with 0.2 measurements, and that reticle combined with the clarity of the glass and the wide field of view gave me everything I needed for identification of targets, for follow-up shots, and for holdover positions as well. Some of the stages required only holdovers, no dialing allowed, and this scope was optimized to do all of that. Mounted to the side of the scope is an send it level, which I have an ocular additional attachment on the scope here, which gives me the lights, from the indication lights from the send it level directly in my line of sight when looking through the scope. And that means you don't have to look away from the scope, down the scope, to be able to see if your scope is level and on target. That was that level ocular housing was from Rice Ops, Tom Rice here in the UK. Okay, so that was the rifle. I was shooting, like I said, Hornady 140 grain ELDMs, which I picked up from Mile High Shooting when I was over in Colorado. Not the best factory ammo that I've put through this gun. I wasn't impressed with some of the standard deviation results that I was getting from the ammo. I would have much preferred to have been shooting my usual Cellular and Belled 142 grain match ammo that I'm more used to. But it's a bit of a moot point now. I'll be shortly moving over to custom made ammo from Jackal Firearms, so no more shooting factory ammo for me in competition. Okay, so all of this kit had to be carried in something. And if I start with all of my shooting bags, my ammunition, my binos, everything fitted inside this Bergara day sack. Really versatile pack, lots of pockets, lots of places for storage and carrying water. And normally at a match I would wear this on my back, and I would carry my rifle in the matching gun case that I have here from Bergara. But in the States they do things a little bit differently. In the UK, when a rifle is bagged, it's considered safe. In the States, and this is how it should be done, muzzles always have to be pointed up or down, whether bagged or not. So I actually wore this double gun case. If I just get it out, I actually wore this double gun case on my back as a backpack, and then carried the Bergara day sack on my front. So the rifle was always pointed up, even when it was cased. I considered not using the bulkier case and maybe getting a complete rifle cover. What I did know was that because of the dust at Cameo, in Colorado, I would need to make sure that the rifle was covered at all times to protect the action, the trigger, the bolts, the scope. But experience tells me, and I did witness this at the match, that when you use one of those covers and you want to access your rifle to get it ready before you go up to shoot, you're inevitably having to take the cover off the rifle and therefore exposing it. Whereas if you keep the rifle in a case, you can just open the zip to one part of the rifle to access it, minimizing the amount of exposure to dust. And I felt that even though I did get some dust on my action that did start to affect the bolts across a few stages, a situation that went away with just a bit more working of the bolts and protection from any more dust getting on it. I found that this solution, although a bit bulkier to carry around the range, worked exceptionally well. Now what I have here is a Peli 1750 hard case for travel. Used this before, absolutely bomb proof. You know that your scope and rifle is going to be protected in it. You know it's going to have enough storage space for tools and other things that you can't take, that have to go in the hold on a plane, you can't take in your carry-on. But I elected not to have cut foam inserts for the rifle and all my equipment to sit inside. Instead, I just used the case without any foam. My Bergara gun case sat inside it perfectly like a glove. The gun case is well padded around all sides, and then the rifle and all other equipment just slipped inside that, closed the lid, put the padlocks on, and I was ready to fly. Okay, so that's all of the gear that I took to shoot the match in the United States. Like I say, amazing experience. Didn't want to come home. I just wanted to stay out there and keep shooting and enjoying the facilities, not just Cameo, but the facilities around Grand Junction, the public range that they have there. It is true to say that in America you have so many more opportunities, certainly in the part that we visited, certainly more opportunities to shoot regularly with little hassle, little preparation. You can just pick up your rifle, pick up some ammo and go to a range close by and just start shooting. It always seems like when we want to go to the range here in the UK, it's something that's really pre-planned. Not in America, and I just wish we had that sort of an opportunity over here for practice and development, personal development. But anyway, it is what it is. Amazing experience. I'll do some more posting about my gear, about the experience, and also talk a little bit about how my attention now turns to qualifying for the Great Britain team for the PR22 World Championships in the UK next year. So yeah, thanks for listening along this far. If you've got any questions about any of the gear that I've shown here today, or any of the experience that we've had over in America, please drop a question in the comments below. I do always answer every comment that is made there. And please, if you're not subscribed, I'd really appreciate that as well. So yeah, give us a like, and we'll see you on the next video. Best score of the match.